The ego is the system that runs your sense of self. It is made out of thought patterns, emotions, and behavioral loops, and the stories that try to hold it all together. Left unchecked, it creates endless existential searching, chronic disconnection, and the persistent sense that something is wrong. The goal of my videos is clarity, to see your identity and its contradictions for what they are, named precisely, to finally understand what it is that we're all running away from. When you're in the existential seeker phase, the sense is that the world is always burning, either in your own house, meaning in your own personal experience, or just outside, worried about the culture and the current zeitgeist and politics and everything that is going wrong in this world. And then there's this feeling that something is always wrong. And if you have this like awareness about how sick the world is and how much needs to be done, then the feeling is that things are bad and they're always bad. And that you personally cannot really relax and calm down or just enjoy yourself, because it's not the time to enjoy yourself. You need to do something about the burning world right now, or your own burning house. This entire mechanism is egoic seeking, and it is actually kind of delusional for the mind to do this. It has good intentions at its ground, but everything built around it is actually a sickness. And it's a sickness of self-importance. You might believe that everything that you see that you want to fix is because you have some deep empathy and care for everything, which you have, but underneath that actually motivates this desire to change the world is personal insecurity and all of the stuff that you have not dealt with, that you have not accepted with yourself, or just about the nature of being who you are. And then you extrapolate it and have a sort of savior complex where you're trying to save the world, or where you're trying to save yourself. Then the sense is that you're always running behind something, and you are not finding yourself in a state where you can just relax and be peaceful, because there's always something wrong. And what is so difficult to understand or to accept really is that the sense of always being something wrong is a complete mind fabrication that doesn't actually map onto reality. Like, let's actually follow the thinking to its logical conclusion. If everything is always wrong, then there's no way you can fix it, because you have something installed in the mind that says everything is always wrong. And maybe you'd say, okay, yeah, but I don't have everything is always wrong installed. I just have a lot of problems I need to fix. Now, figure out the relationship that you have with these problems. If these are problems that you have been having for many months or many years, or decades even, then is it really a problem, or is it a part of you? And if it is a part of you, why is there the sense that you need to fix it all the time? And it is easy to talk in abstracts, right? But let's take, for example, in addiction, right? Like you're addicted to a substance, and then you'd say, okay, this is clearly a problem. There's clearly something wrong with me. I need to fix my substance abuse in order to like have the good life. And there's wisdom there, right? Like you understand that there's something that isn't working for you in the long term, and you want to change it. Now, the feeling that this is wrong is what's keeping you stuck in the drug addiction. And it's very paradoxical, but it makes a lot of sense from like an ego perspective, because if you're identified with having a problem and the drug is the solution for the problem, then although you might think that the drug is kind of what's causing the problem, it's more like a symptom. It's an expression of how you're feeling in the inside that needs to be like patched up through the drug. And then identifying as an addict or an alcoholic or whatever you want to identify as can for a moment be helpful to just raise awareness to what is the issue you're struggling with, but then it becomes an identity. And the moment it becomes an identity, you actually have a bigger problem on your hands. The same I see with like therapy, where of course therapy can be extremely helpful and extremely useful, especially if you find the right person for you. But I found that labeling symptoms is a double-edged sword, and people oftentimes use their own mental illness in order to justify their behavior and pretend that they are out of control and they cannot actually change it. I know for myself, when I was very certain around like age 16, 17 that I have ADHD or ADD, like the non-hyperactive version, I noticed the more I told myself that I had it and that I'm going to get diagnosed for it, the more I had symptoms. And then I started to put stuff in the fridge where it doesn't belong, threw stuff in the toilet that didn't belong in the toilet, and my symptoms clearly worsened by me believing that I had ADD. And this is why a diagnosis is good in the short term, but in the long term, has probably you need to let go of it. That's also why in my ego architecture audit, when I revise people's ego architecture, this direct seeing of how your ego operates is the most useful part, especially if you can get insight into the nature of yourself and you understand how you use your words and how this works. You get like moments of insight. And these moments of insight, you have a realization that installs something, like a seed that will grow on its own. But I right now don't bring out like written verdicts, except if people asked for them, because I don't think it's helpful to ruminate about your own ego architecture all the time and keep looking at it, because in a way you are solidifying something that is not permanent, and it's just something very strong and rigid. And understanding it is helpful, but then keep to tell yourself over and over again what you are made of is kind of like the opposite of reaching towards a peaceful no selfhood. So all of this means that, for example, you have like an ego architecture that is kind of toxic, that is full of like regret and pain and stuff. Seeing at it and then feeling into it is watching the world burn and not having to do anything about it. It is acceptance with your own existential situation and then feeling it out. And it's this ability to feel it out that makes you accept what is already the case. Because no matter what it is that you're struggling with, there's like this part that thinks it shouldn't be this way. And this part that thinks it shouldn't be this way is kind of an abstract illusion towards the future, because it's not that it shouldn't or should be this way, it is this way. So a should already is kind of an assertion from the mind that something is wrong. So all shoulds in their own nature determine that things are not good enough. And if your mind is run by shoulds, then you're not going to be content, because you'll always find some other should that makes the reality that you're in right now not good enough. And you're actually distracting yourself from what is the case. And what is the case cannot be otherwise. That's just kind of the nature of truth. Like when something is a fact, it's a fact. So any sort of push and pull that thinks you need to change it makes it so that you kind of suffer. And this doesn't mean that change is impossible, but change comes from a different place. Acceptance isn't apathy. Acceptance doesn't mean that you just, don't care and don't do anything about it. Acceptance actually can help you move on, because you acknowledge the problem for what it is, and you can find peace even within the problem. And life is full of a lot of problems anyway. So making peace with the fact that problems will come up is good. And if you can divorce the problems that come up in your life from your own sense of self-worth, then you are winning, because then it isn't a statement about you if you win or fail. It's just an assessment of how things went out and how reality is being configured, instead of making it about this personal narrative of wins and failures. And this is what people usually grips or makes them stuck, because they cannot actually liberate their own creative expression or their own desire for what they really want, or going outside of their comfort zone, because what if it doesn't work out? But if it does or doesn't work out is irrelevant to the question of what it is you want to do. And wanting to do something trumps any should anyway. The same is true for the entire world as a whole, that seems to be burning at all times. And that's also something important to realize. The world always has looked like it's burning at all times. And certainly there are more uncertain times now than like 15 years ago. But it is pretty much a pattern of human history that there are culture wars, there are real wars, and there are real fights, and people don't understand each other. Right now we have like this big problem with technology just completely conquering every corner of our lives. We have the problem that gender-wise it seems like we humans are like very, very much unaligned, through all of these different gendered movements, be it like the red pill or feminism, plus just the internet and this weird culture that we have now around also sexuality and the dating market and online dating. That there's a lot of friction that happens here between us as like a society that will need solving over time. But I'm very optimistic. It's my belief that we'll find a way through this once we see the unison between us. Because the real burn that has happened since the beginning of human times is always a question of resources. And this is where it gets a little political again, but I do think that I should make my own framework here very clear so everybody understands where I'm coming from. I think that the question between left and right, or capitalism or communism, or any sort of like deep political issue, really boils down to the question, why are we not all having enough resources? And everybody is kind of being programmed to fight between each other, be it male and female, black and white, yeah, in all sorts of areas. And of course, this stuff breaks apart when one faction is literally trying to completely destroy and to move the rights away from the other faction, right? Like you're not going to find the middle ground there. But the middle ground that we need to understand, it's always those with the resources that are making the world burn, in quotation marks, because of their own self-interest, and then they find cultural reasons for why we then fight between each other, and always get the feeling that everything is so hopeless and the world is burning at all times and we don't know what to do, when the answer is always some sort of mixture between like resource allocation, where everybody gets enough to what they need, but also giving everybody who has the desire to build immense amount of wealth to be able to do so. It just needs to be configured in a way that people don't just needlessly die and needlessly suffer. And if everybody could like live comfortably with like a good amount of security and care for them without having to worry existentially about if they can make it this month, then you will find a lot less fascism, and you find a lot less communist propaganda, and you find a lot less just infighting between genders, because things will kind of move their interests towards the right populace. And right now, online dating and social media is not really in the interest of the populace, of the civilization. It's an interest of those who are hoarding the resources. This is the political tangent on the side, but I do believe that it's important to be clear on that, because the real solutions of this world will always start with yourself. They will start with your own peace, your own contentment, your own ability to look at what's going on and be okay with it and find your own peace, even though you cannot like change the political landscape in one evening. And even though you cannot really have like that big of an influence in the large scheme of things, we are still like a generation that is growing up, and there will become generations after us. And if we understand that you can be in peace, even in a burning world, and from there find your own center, your own understanding of, this is part of a larger pattern throughout human history that has always happened. And I am not very, very much special in being in this state. Like, it's kind of special to be in this evolution of technology and all this stuff. But every generation had like their big new technology, a big new change. And within that, you kind of have to accept what is going on and move with the times, while also understanding where are the levers you can pull and push to actually have an influence over where things are going. And most of the time, people need to be able to clean their own rooms, to give a very Petersonian reference here. but it is true, right? Like if you're not in peace in your own body, then you're not gonna make anything better, except your own body first, right? Like that's just half true, right? Of course, you can have a big impact to a lot of things while you're not in peace with your own body. I wouldn't say that they are really mutually exclusive, but if everybody then acts this way, then we all also just have neurotic people uncomfortable existing, and that's not the point. The point is to find a way to cohere everything. And this coherence can only start by not panicking and being super neurotic about the state of the world, or your own lack of purpose, or your own lack of meaning, and needing something to fulfill it all the time, but to be able to look at the fire and see that it has been burning for thousands and thousands of years. And sometimes the fire comes very close to home, and then there's really nothing to do but to look at it. Philosophically, what this points to is that there's really no atom in this universe that is like in a wrong place. Like if you think about it just purely mechanically, the universe has run patterns since the beginning of time. And all of these patterns is what made the current situation be now what it is. And where the control here really is and who is responsible starts to feel a bit arbitrary if you think from the present moment, and see just everybody has been kind of conditioned into this. And then to wake up is to see the extent of the conditioning that has run both you, your family, your friends, and at large the entirety of society. and to see that the power that we hold is to become aware of the conditioning, to see what causes the burning all the time, and then to finally extinguish the fire.